Executive Director Carlos Macaris. We're also Representative Bill Connerly and Mike Ron, the port chairman of the board here. We were here last year, of course, with extenuating circumstances, and we're here with another great announcement that's going to, I think, be really, really good for the port. As you know, we've consistently been ranked as the top economy in the country of all 50 states over the last 2 years by multiple publications. That has been the case. If you look at GDP growth since I took office, we've grown in Florida by over 30%, our state's economy. We would be, I think, the 13th or 14th largest economy in the world if we were our own country, and our growth rate exceeds every large state and every state except, I believe, Idaho. But, you know, I think Idaho's population is probably, I don't know if it's less than Manatee County. It might be less than Sarasota, but it's definitely less than a lot of counties, you know, that we have in Florida for sure. We continue to be #1 in new business formations, continue to have a strong AAA credit rating. We have added jobs 52 of the last 56 months in the private sector. For the 50th month in a row, our unemployment rate has been lower than the national average, and our year-over-year private sector job growth rate has exceeded the nation's job growth rate for 40 consecutive months. And we just had, I saw some stuff on the Transtrom, I did a little response about, and I don't know why we have to do these comparisons anymore, because the truth is obvious, and I think people have voted with their feet. But it was said that somehow California does better on like tax and some of these metrics, and it's just insane to even think that. California has the stiffest income tax of all 50 states. I think it gets up to like 13-something%. Florida has no income tax for anybody, and so we're obviously better there. But you say, oh, well, you don't have an income tax, but you have a sales tax. But get this, even though California has the highest income tax, their sales tax is higher than Florida's. Their sales tax is the highest in the United States of America. Then you look at other things that affect people like gas prices. California has the highest gas prices in the entire United States of America. They're averaging about $5 a gallon. We're averaging about $3 a gallon right now. Obviously, we know that can fluctuate, but the delta between the two is always, and it's because of their taxes and regulations and all the policies they put on. And then utility. Their utility rates are twice what Florida's utility rates are. So in terms of being a friend of the taxpayer, in terms of having a strong environment that people are able to do well in, you know, we obviously do that. Yeah, look, they've got Silicon Valley, they've got things where people make a lot of money, but that's in spite of the policies. That's not because of the policies. And if you look at our fiscal posture, and we'll see, you know, the legislature is in session now, so they're going to produce a budget for next year. But our current budget that we're operating under spends less money this year than we did the year before. How many places are actually reducing spending? We've paid down since we just celebrated our 180th anniversary as a state. And if you take 180 years, all the debt that Florida accumulated during that period of time, just since I took office, we've paid off 41% of that. And we're going to do more over the next couple years, which is great. So now of all the states that have debt, we have the lowest per capita debt of any state in the country. Your share as a Floridian of our state's debt is about $660. Your share of the U.S. federal debt, which is $36 trillion and counting, would be over $100,000 per U.S. citizen, and that obviously continues to go up. So we've done it right, and we've done it on really good budget. New York, a lot of people have moved from New York to Florida. I mean, that's always been the case to a certain extent, but certainly recently. New York now has millions fewer people than we do. They always had more people than us until relatively recently, and then we were kind of comparable. Now we're over 23 million. They're around 19.5 million, and yet with millions of more people, our budget is less than half of their budget. And yet, where is all this money going? People come here, they can get a driver's license much easier. The roads are better. We just ranked #1 in another education survey, the Education Freedom by EdChoice, a national publication, ranked us #1 in that. We were #1 in education by U.S. News the last 2 years. So where's this money going? and they're not treating taxpayers well. So we're doing that. And I think those states that are really high tax, what ends up happening is the organs of the government themselves become constituents to the money going to, this group or that group or the union. And so they end up really controlling the government, not for the overall public interest, but for those specific discrete interests. And so that's why they do the policies that they do. We do it much different. We're really focused on what's in the public's interest and making sure that we're hitting these things in the big way. And that in infrastructure has been something that we've been really, really supportive of. We've done an awful lot to advance infrastructure in Florida at our seaports, but also on our roads. We did a project called Moving Florida Forward, where we sunk billions of dollars into accelerating some of the projects around the state that were slated to start, but a lot of them not slated to start until next decade. Now we're getting them done, starting now, finishing them 5 years, 10 years, sometimes even 15 years ahead of schedule, and we're proud of doing that. And one of the tools we have for infrastructure is this job growth grant fund. So we've been able to give grants around the country, around the state, for things that can really have value. So that's helped industrial parks, it's helped different types of transportation, and we have, of course, used it at the seaports. And Florida being a big peninsula, you would imagine that seaports would be very, very important. Currently, our seaports in Florida support nearly 1.2 million jobs and contribute to over $195 billion in total economic value to the state. Our maritime activities account for about 13% of Florida's GDP and contribute over $4 billion to state and local tax coffers. Florida seaports continue to grow, and that is evident here at SeaPort Manatee. This is the primary deepwater seaport in Southwest Florida. Its strategic location at the mouth of Tampa Bay and as the closest deepwater seaport to the Panama Canal allow it to handle 400 million gallons of transportation fuel, fruits and vegetables, appliances, construction materials, and wood for distribution across Southwest Florida and the entire southeastern United States. In 2023, SeaPort Manatee supported 42,000 U.S. jobs, generated $275 million in state and local tax revenue, and contributed $7.3 billion in economic value to the economy. SeaPort Manatee has played an important role in responding to many of the recent disasters that Florida has faced. Of course, this place was at the epicenter of Helene with the surge, and then also Hurricane Milton, and those were back-to-back punches. Now, we knew that this was important, and we wanted to do what we could to be helpful. So after damage assessments estimated significant losses, we stepped in as a state to help mitigate some of the impact on the costs. We awarded SeaPort Manatee $9.5 million to jumpstart its recovery efforts and help repair impacted infrastructure. So that's berth repairs, dredging, security needs, fortification of the surviving infrastructure. We also supported the port's rebuild by providing subject matter experts and skilled workers from the Florida Department of Transportation. We also directed the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to expedite all permits for the immediate rebuild of port infrastructure, and we provided support from the Florida Division of Emergency Management in navigating the FEMA awards process, and we provided personnel from the Florida National Guard to reestablish perimeter security and assist in repairing the port fence. Now, every state dollar we've invested in seaport infrastructure, we believe returns a significant amount of money to the economy. We're proud to make these investments, and we understand how important it is. And I would also note last year, when we were facing the wreckage of these hurricanes, you had the prospect of the longshoremen launching a strike that would have threatened our supply chain right before holiday season. And I said, we're going to use National Guard. We're going to do whatever we could to keep this going. And it was SeaPort Manatee that was one of the first that was willing to step up and support our supply chain as other ports were facing shutdowns because of the strike. So we prepared our state and National Guard to deploy to SeaPort Manatee to operate critical port duties and ensure port functions could continue for the duration. Luckily, it did not come to that, but we were prepared, and SeaPort Manatee was on the front lines in that effort. And I want to know that the state, and I know a lot of people really appreciate willing to do that. So everywhere you look in the region, you can see the impact of SeaPort Manatee on the daily lives of Floridians, especially those in the Bay Area and Southwest Florida, which is why we're here today. We want to continue to make strong investments in ports like this one, which will expand opportunities for new businesses and opportunities for more operations. So today I'm announcing that through the Florida Job Growth Grant Fund, we are awarding $2 million to the Manatee County Port Authority to make key infrastructure improvements at SeaPort Manatee. Now, these funds will be used to rebuild and repave South Dock Street at SeaPort Manatee and make additional infrastructure improvements, including stormwater mitigation. This award will help fulfill the demand from current and new businesses as they expand their operations and create new jobs. The project is expected to create 300 jobs. Beyond enhancing port efficiency, these upgrades will facilitate supporting an expansion for home, aerospace, and automotive product manufacturer Honeywell. This includes supporting Honeywell's expected development of new businesses over the next 5 years, including a cold storage warehouse, a fuel terminal, and a manufacturing facility. So I'm proud to be able to do this award. We appreciate what's been done here. We know that there's a lot of prospects to do a lot more, and we need it. I mean, this part of the state, the state has obviously grown dramatically anyways, but certainly this part of the state has grown significantly when you look at the Bradenton, Sarasota areas and even beyond as you get into Charlotte County. And of course, Collier has always been, and Lee have had a lot of people for a long time. So this is really key, I think, to the state's success going forward. So I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to be able to bring up some people. So we'll start with Jared Perdue first, then we'll hear from Carlos, and then Mike.